How you doing, guys? Casper here from the Geek Home. This is the first in a series of videos that I've been wanting to make for a while now. So it's not going to deal with any specific products we sell or events we run or anything like that as such. It's more a sort of series of videos of discussing tabletop gaming in South Africa and the various amounts of challenges faced by stores like us, and yeah, all of the difficulties that comes into it actually being a profitable business for us to do, which is incredibly difficult. So I just want to discuss some things because I have had more and more recent frustrations with some people, I think, not really understanding how the reason things work the way that they do, and then also the horrible way certain things do work, and all of the various struggles with regards to everything that we try and do. Yeah, so first thing I want to get into is, as many of you might know, obviously we've had a local soft launch of Amazon now. To be honest, they're not looking really that much different than Takealot. I wasn't expecting it to be that much different. Looks like, in terms of stuff in general, it's very similar. I don't know, the shipping would be different and all of that, but obviously they have certain things in which they'll do in a different way. The biggest problem obviously being Takealot is a $1 trillion company. For anybody to compete with them is an effective impossibility. So yeah, the concept of a store like us, or any type of LGS store, which is local game store, competing with someone like Amazon is a complete and utter absurdity, really. And there's where some of the primary problem will now start to come in, unfortunately. Amazon is not, like some people are very confused. Amazon cannot work separately from normal distribution as such, so they will still be buying from local distributor, like the local distributor for Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, and various other types of things. They will still be buying through local distribution generally. The only problem with that becomes that Amazon has a very big footprint, which means we now have to compete against a massive company which has such a massively big footprint, and people, it's an ingrained cultural thing for a lot of people in Western society. And that's where the difficulty comes in. Now I know a lot of people are going to say, okay, but LGS stores have to compete with them with regards to creating other things and creating loyalty and all of those various things, which is fine. But the problem is, unfortunately, comes down to human nature. So I've been doing this for quite a long time, and I can tell you one thing right now. When a person walks into a store or goes to an online store, if they find your online store, since you're competing with so many other ones, the first thing anybody looks at is always price. It doesn't matter, usually, like 90% of the time, it doesn't matter if you're if they're a person who you would consider to be loyal to your store. It is not as big an influence as you would think. Usually people will just take a look at the price and consider that against other places' prices, and then consider if it's worth it for them to buy it from this place right now as a convenience factor, if it's more expensive, or if it's worth it for them to just order it from the cheapest source possible. That is how most consumers think. I personally also think that way. I'm not going to argue that I don't. It's just the way in which we think about things in general, because we're protective of our income and protective of our money. We want the best value for money. It's a natural way to think that way. The problem is, unfortunately, it's very difficult for an LGS store to compete against heavy discounting that a service like Amazon a lot of times does. So let's say you take a product and they put it up for something like 20% off or whatever, and and the profit margin on that product is 30%. It is not realistic for anyone to expect a small store to operate on such a small margin. considering all of the various costs involved in running a business, which is exponentially more anyway, really, to be honest, if you look comparably to like America or whatever, it is more expensive in South Africa generally anyway. And all of the fact that we have to deal with a much smaller market. Like our market, like if you take an LGS store that has to compete against Amazon in the US versus us who has to compete against something like that in South Africa, it is not a comparable thing because our market is so much smaller. So it's so much harder for us to actually make profit. And there are already so many little online stores selling things, selling the same types of things. There are a wider range of brick and mortar stores, and every single one of them effectively has a website. And believe it or not, we could not stay in business if we did not also sell online. We have to sell online in order for us to be worth it. That means we have to compete with all of those stores, and now with, obviously we've been competing with guys like Takealot, and now with Amazon. And effectively you're cutting out the LGS store. The LGS store is providing play space, they're providing communities, they're trying to create all of those things all the time. But now people just go and buy stuff from Amazon or wherever. There's no value then involved or no value on return for the LGS store. And then the chain basically breaks because LGS stores just can't operate anymore and it just isn't worth it. And I can now promise you this is the opinion of every single LGS store out there. It's the market situation is becoming harder every single day. We're having to struggle with more and more things like these, and we're getting almost no support from the other sources. Like, I'm not gonna go deeper on into that, but there is very little support for us as LGS stores coming from the extra additionals to the chain of how things work. The only benefit is things we could get like promos or things like that, which we give away at an event or things like that. But it's a very minimal impact those things can have on sales, unfortunately. Like, they're good for building communities and stuff, but once again, if I put something on the shelf and I'm trying to sell it at normal retail at this stage, if I put a magic product on the shelf, try and sell it for normal retail price, it will not sell. I have to discount it. And now I have to compete against other people massively discounting stuff also. Lessening profit margins over and over and over again until it just isn't a sustainable thing. And this is the thing that's constantly happening now. It's being put under so much pressure. We're being put under so much pressure in order to lessen our ability to actually make profit. And it's almost like a lot of people seem to consider that businesses like ours, and there are a multitude of different businesses, it's supposed to be some kind of community project, but it just doesn't work that way. People make their livelihoods out of working through businesses. They make money so that they can put bread on the table and pay their staff and do things like that. It has to be a realistic business, otherwise it doesn't work. So unless we start getting more support from the other chains involved in the entire selling of the products we do, specifically coming from distribution and so forth, and we start getting more benefits as being LGS stores, the situation is going to become one which is perhaps not sustainable in any type of way. I'll take a quick example of Pokemon, for example. Pokemon is, you might think Pokemon is like a very big thing, but it's a very, very difficult product to sell now, the Pokemon card game, because there's just so many small stores selling Pokemon, so many online stores. All of them are discounting, and also now we're going to be competing against Amazon. So how do we exactly make that a profitable thing, or make that a sustainable thing for us? When it comes to actual organized play, that only contributes X amount. When any card game, if you're not getting from the casual players about 70% of your business, there's something not right. It's always been that way. You cannot build it just on the organized side and then hope out of hope that you're gonna get loyalty from that. You know, creating an LGS store, you try and create a comfortable environment. You try and, like, we've done a bunch of different store changes. Like we've changed the store around, make more better play spaces, trying to bring things to make it more attractive for people to play. We get consistent good turnout at events. Some things aren't that great at the moment. Some things are better. You know, for example, this weekend we had quite a lot of people playing, and then sort of new Bring a Friend Commander event. You know, for Magic, and we had people playing in a Pokemon Cup, and we had people playing Warhammer, and sort of these things all help, but they also take quite a lot of effort and time to plan and and actually then run. We have to have staff running them, which have to be paid. You know, we have to have the facilities available to do these things, which includes all kinds of different things, obviously, and all of these things at the end of the day costs money, and it has to be sustainable for us to keep on doing that, and for us to keep on growing, trying to grow the community, you know, and then hoping that at least the community will understand that we need them to support us. But once again, like I said, the loyalty thing, if people think that that is the number one thing, most people think when they walk into a store, like an LGS store, they're making a big mistake. Like if you're walking into any place and your intention is to buy something, your number one mentality is usually going to be, I want the best deal. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. That is the way that consumerism works. But if it's not realistic for the LGS to be selling a product at that insane amount of discount, then it's not going to work. It just isn't sustainable. So yeah, that was just a little bit of a rant. These are going to be slightly ranty videos. I will be delving into more specific details in terms of the different products we do, like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Warhammer, all of the board games, all of those. I'm going to be making videos going a bit more into depth with the specific problems existing there. I don't know, solutions wise, it's very hard to come up with solutions. A broad solution would be obviously support your LGS stores, avoid buying stuff from Amazon if you can, or you know, places that don't add value. Yeah, it's just that's the best I can say. So yeah guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Like I said, bit of a rant, but guess these types of videos are always going to be that. So I'll be making, like I said, individual videos going in a bit more into depth with specific types of systems that we do. So yeah, please like and subscribe, and please support your LGS. Please consider supporting us, geekhome.co.za. We try to be very competitive in terms of pricing and all kinds of stuff like that also, as far as we can. And yeah, just help us out and help all your LGS stores to keep on going and building communities and having gaming. Alright guys, see you in the next video. Cheers.